Buckle up, Formula One fans. Max Verstappen has dominated the qualifying session for the 2025 United States Grand Prix, snagging pole position in a heart-pounding showdown at the Circuit of the Americas. But here's the twist that had everyone on the edge of their seats. The Dutch star couldn't even squeeze in a second lap in the final qualifying round, yet his initial effort was unbeatable. If you're into high-stakes racing, you won't want to miss how this unfolded, complete with red flags, track limit dramas, and nail-biting battles for the top spots. Let's dive into the details of this exhilarating session. Verstappen kicked things off by leading the charge through the first two qualifying segments, and it seemed like he was unstoppable as he posted the fastest time in the opening laps of Q3. That's the decisive third and final round where the top 10 drivers duke it out for the best starting positions. His lap clocked in at an impressive 1 minute and 32.510 seconds. He tried to gun for another attempt in those frantic final moments, but the checkered flag dropped just as he was approaching the line, forcing him to bank on that first run. And boy, did it pay off. He finished a full 0.291 seconds ahead of his nearest rival, Lando Norris of McLaren, who secured second place. Norris himself was separated by just 0.06 of a second from Charles Leclerc in third, driving for Ferrari. Rounding out the top five were Mercedes' George Russell in fourth and Lewis Hamilton, yes, the Lewis Hamilton who switched to Ferrari after years with Mercedes, in fifth. The session wasn't kind to everyone, though. McLaren's Oscar Piastri struggled to find his rhythm, ending up in sixth, while Mercedes rookie Kimi Antonelli grabbed seventh. Haas's Ollie Behrman delivered a solid eighth with Williams, Carlos Sainz in ninth, and Fernando Alonso of Aston Martin completing the top 10 in 10th. For beginners new to F1, qualifying is all about setting the fastest lap times in 3 time segments, Q1, Q2, and Q3, where slower drivers get eliminated round by round, ultimately determining the grid order for the race. Now, here's where it gets controversial. Track limits played a huge role in shaking up the standings. Imagine this. You're pushing the boundaries of the circuit, shaving off precious seconds, but one tiny excursion over the white lines gets your lap time deleted. That's exactly what happened to Aston Martin's Lance Stroll and Williams' Alex Albon, relegating them to 18th and 19th respectively. And to add insult to injury, Stroll faces a 5-place grid penalty for what officials deemed a separate incident, dropping him even further down the order. Is this fair? Should F1 enforce stricter rules to prevent such cheating at the edges? Or does it add to the excitement of a sport where every millimeter counts? It's a debate that's raged in the paddock for years. What do you think? The qualifying results table tells the full story. Formula One MSC Cruises United States Grand Prix 2025. Pause. Driver time 1. Max Verstappen, VRE 132.510. 2. Lando Norris, NOR 132.801. 3. George Russell 132.877. 5. Lewis Hamilton, HAM 132.912. For the complete standings, check out the official F1 site at https:/results2025 races 1271 United States qualifying. Shifting gears to the rest of the field. Nico Hülkenberg, who shone in Friday's sprint qualifying, couldn't carry that momentum into Saturday's full session. The Kick-Sauber driver exited in 11th place, just one spot ahead of Racing Bull's Liam Lawson in 12th. Red Bull's Yuki Tsunoda managed 13th, with Alpine drivers Pierre Gasly and Franco Colapinto in 14th and 15th. And talk about early fireworks. Just minutes into qualifying, Isack Hadjar of Racing Bulls crashed out, triggering red flags and leaving him stranded in 20th, the last position. The other drivers who bowed out in Q1 included Gabriel Bortoleto of Kick-Sauber in 16th and Haas's Esteban Ocon in 17th. As it happened, the session unfolded like this. Q1, Verstappen sets the tone amid chaos. Following the adrenaline-fueled sprint race at the Circuit of the Americas the day before, the focus turned to qualifying, which sets the grid for Sunday's main event. Drivers were already queuing up in the pit lane when the lights went green for the 18-minute Q1 segment. Esteban Ocon of Haas led the charge out, while McLaren's Norris and Piastri, fresh from an early sprint exit, joined the fray later. But drama struck early when Hadjar lost control, spun off, and smashed into the barriers, bringing out the red flags. Frustration was evident as he slammed his steering wheel. After a short cleanup, with about 14 minutes remaining, everyone bolted back out, mostly on soft tires except Hamilton, who started on used mediums before switching. Norris had a hairy moment on his first lap, going wide and having to abort, while Leclerc initially topped the charts with a 133.525. Norris improved on his next go, but only reached 7th, behind teammate Piastri. As time ticked down, drivers like Stroll, Colapinto, Albon, Bortoleto, and Hadjar, still sidelined, faced elimination. Russell and Antonelli of Mercedes briefly led 1-2 before Verstappen snatched top spot with a 133.207. Colapinto clawed his way to safety in 15th, bumping Bortoleto to 16th. Albon seemed to escape the drop zone by claiming 8th, but his lap was deleted for track limits, shoving him to 19th. The same fate befell Stroll, leaving him in 18th, soon to be worse with his penalty. Bortoleto, Ocon, and Hadjar were out, with the latter stuck in 20th. Knocked out in Q1, Bortoleto, Ocon, Stroll, Albon, Hadjar. Q2, Verstappen keeps the lead. Into the 15-minute Q2, soft tires were the go-to choice. Verstappen extended his dominance with an early 132.701. Leclerc was second, Norris third, Hamilton fourth, and Piastri 7th after initial runs. At risk were Lawson, Russell, Tsunoda, Colapinto, and Gasly. The latter's lap erased for limits. Russell dove in early for a key lap, climbing to 6th. In the closing stages, Verstappen stayed put in the garage, confident at the top. Tsunoda couldn't improve to 13th. Hülkenberg settled for 11th. Gasly reached 14th ahead of Colapinto, and Lawson exited in 12th. Knocked out in Q2, Hülkenberg, Lawson, Tsunoda, Gasly, Colapinto, Q3. Verstappen's pole despite the clock. The top 10 battled in the 10-minute Q3. Verstappen, the McLaren's Mercedes duo, Ferraris plus Sainz, Alonso, and Behrman lined up. Most wet with fresh softs, but Piastri, Behrman, Alonso, and Sainz used worn ones. Verstappen led provisionally with a 132.510 seconds, 0.394 seconds ahead of Norris. Russell and Antonelli were third and fourth. Behrman and Sainz beat Piastri, and Alonso, Hamilton, Leclerc followed, the latter's lap marred by a 360-degree spin into the last corner. For the final runs, all switched to fresh tires. Red Bull worried if Verstappen could start his lap in time, and sure enough, he missed it, relying on his first effort. It held up as the best. Norris finished 0.291 seconds back in second, Leclerc close in third, Russell and Hamilton next, Piastri in sixth on a rough day. Antonelli, Behrman, Sainz, and Alonso filled the top 10. It was solid, Verstappen said afterward. The car performed brilliantly in every part. Piecing together a lap here is tough. It's scorching hot with fierce winds, and that tailwind in the first sector is a real challenge. Our initial Q3 run was strong, improving from Q2. I couldn't manage the final one due to messy outlaps, but luckily, we didn't need it. Another fantastic outcome for us. Looking ahead, the 2025 United States Grand Prix kicks off at 2 p.m. local time on Sunday. For all the live action, head over to the Race Hub at https://n/racing/2025/United States. And this is the part most people miss. Could Verstappen's lucky escape from a second lap hint at strategic brilliance, or was it just a narrow win? Some fans argue F1 should allow more leeway in qualifying to avoid such heart-stopping finishes. Do you agree with the current format, or should changes be made? Share your opinions in the comments. Let's discuss.